This is huge. We have multiple Ravens updates coming out of the Baltimore facility. We have some big news on a couple big players you're going to want to watch this season. What's going on, everyone? My name is Sam Stewart. I hope everyone is doing well today. Welcome to Ravens Digest, your number one home for everything Baltimore Ravens. And before we get started, talk about the two players that are making waves at the Ravens facility. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. It's completely free to subscribe to all our content on this channel. And I want to remind everybody, it's your number one source. We're going to cover everything from trades, rumors, breaking news like in this video. And then once the season rolls around, you're going to really want to be tapped into this channel where we're doing all pre-game analysis of the opponents the Ravens will be facing that week. And then once the game is over, we're breaking down all the action and analysis as well. So let's go ahead and dive into today's video. So we've got a couple big things coming out of Ravens camp. I'm so excited, dude, that football, it feels like it's back in the air. Does it feel like that way to you? I mean, maybe not yet. You've got a couple months, but we've got something going on. We've got those workouts at the facilities, getting ready for the season, all this and that. You know what's going on. But one of my favorite parts of this is just the fact that we can see players we don't often see a lot on the field, get an analysis of them, guys who didn't have a big of a role. And, it's a room for these guys to shine. And a couple of those guys for the Baltimore Ravens, we've got Devontae Walker and rookie LeJohntay Western. Now, these two guys have been putting up big, impressive performances in camp so far. So let's go ahead and take a look at an article from John Aflano on SI.com rather. Let's go ahead and check out some quotes from the articles now about these two guys. A fourth-round pick from North Carolina, Walker didn't have quite the impact he hoped for in his rookie season, partially due to an injury he suffered in the preseason. He showed in his lone season with the Tar Heels that he can be an impact player, hauling in 41 passes for 699 yards and 7 touchdowns in 8 games. With better health and a year of experience under his belt, perhaps could be a standout in year number 2. Now, being from North Carolina and currently living in North Carolina, Walker actually made a big impact, and if you want to go read about it, won't dive into this video. There's a big controversy about whether or not he should be allowed to play with some NCAA eligibility stuff, and the transfer portal kind of opened up some conversations about the transfer portal. But look, I know this guy can play. I saw him play firsthand, and look, this dude is a straight baller. Like, I think it's one of those situations where the Ravens might not know what they have yet. He is a guy who can really make an impact on the field this year. And I think, one quote to pull up here is, from Ryan Mink, who kind of analyzed the players, and Alfano cited in this article. Walker had a one-handed catch as a rookie, a 21-yard touchdown against the New York Giants. If Wednesday's practice is any indication, he could have a larger role in 2025, Mink wrote. He was a busy man and made an impressive catch in the back of the end zone. This is great to see for a guy who's coming off an injury. Sometimes guys like this can just kind of fall into, not really catching the eye of the coaches, not really catching people's eye. Especially, a guy who's talented coming out of college, like an injury like this, you want him to be making those strides. So this is great to see. And another guy, LeJohntay Western, he's going to be a big piece for the Ravens, I feel, this year. And let's go ahead and take a look about what Aflano had to say about him. A 2025 6th-round pick from Colorado, Wester is already a strong candidate, returned punts for them much like he did in college. The question from whether or not he can break through on offense. He may be very small at 5'9" and 170 pounds, but his blistering speed could give him an edge, and it seems like he's already making the best of it. So, we had a couple stars at Colorado with Shador and Travis Hunter, obviously. And I think a lot of the, Colorado had some struggles at times, but they also had a lot of good players that Dion was able to run well. And Western was one of those guys, because they had the star power, it didn't get talked about quite as much. So, one thing to consider here is how important returning punts is. I don't think people talk about this enough because, it is such an offensive league today, and, punters have improved, and there's this whole strategy of keeping punt returns away from the ball. But I think, when you are a team like the Ravens, who needs to get over that hump, special teams becomes even more important. Everything that can go right needs to go right for the Ravens this year. We've seen how good they are, and they still can't get over that hump. So to have someone like Wester, who's a dynamic, explosive player, I'm really excited to see him take the field because it's also just really exciting when you have a great punt returner like I think we're getting in Wester. So let's go ahead and see what Ryan Mink had to say about him. Let's go ahead and pull this quote up here. Wester can fly, and he showed that holding a long touchdown pass. He juggled it at first, but held on for the score. The 6th-round pick also made a tough guy over the middle despite the pass being tipped by undrafted linebacker Jay Higgins. So he's got those quick reaction times. He's got speed. He's able to return points. I think this is a great pickup for the Ravens. If you're a good franchise like the Ravens, you consistently pick up guys in later rounds. So, I think one thing to consider here is, like I said, we didn't get to see as much of Wester and, kind of the hype about him, because he's at Colorado. The media coverage wasn't on him. But if those who watch Colorado know he can play ball. So I'm really excited to see him, in these Ravens colors working out at the team facility. Let me know in the comments what you think about the performances of these two guys at camp. Who do you think is more likely to make an impact this year? The Ravens already have a big top 3 with Bateman, DeAndre Hopkins, and Zay Flowers. But do you think either of these two guys could be real good depth guys, which is always important, especially if those guys are having an off night or those guys are getting covered or locked up one night? Do you think these two guys can make an impact? And if so, which one? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching. This has been Ravens Digest. Like I said at the beginning of it, make sure you hit that subscribe button to keep up to date with all your Ravens news and information. My name is Sam Stewart. Until next time, we'll see you.